white son has a black best friend, and I can tell you with 100% certainty, if something were to happen to see my son's best friend, his family would not suspect us of anything, and we would be at that funeral. I don't care if we got 1,000,000, because we love him like family, and that's what you do when you love someone like family. Let's get into it. So this Give, Send, Go set me the Benjamin Hudson, I think's his name, Warren Hudson's daddy, set this up so they could fundraise to sue people who they say are defaming the boys. Most of them cannot even attend their own best friend's funeral. Why? Because race baiters sent a deranged army after them online in the name of justice. And that's not all. From the same fundraiser, we have seen this same pattern time and time again, most recently during the Carmelo Anthony trial. What trial have to do with this case? Absolutely nothing, except for the white people making themselves the victims. That's the only strand that connects them. Benjamin Hudson got money. All these people got money. They don't have to fundraise off Nolan Wells' name to sue people online, okay? This is sick. This is not something anyone would ever do if they actually considered Nolan Wells a brother and a best friend and loved him. I could never do this to my son's best friend. My son and his black best friend, C, have been friends for 10 years. Since my son was 7 years old, they've been best friends. He was God sent to my son and this family. Joy. I told C's mama, I will never forget that. It meant so much to me. And C means a lot to me. And there's no amount of death threats that would keep me, my son, our family away from his funeral, because he is a brother. He is a son. He is family to us. You go into that funeral, that the Wells family, or in this case, C's family, would know that we had nothing to do with it. There would not even be an ounce of suspicion, because she knows that we love C like a son. He's been on vacations, Titans games, you name it, C goes. We make sure of it. We try to take him everywhere we can with us because we love him. And if you love somebody, you go to their funeral no matter what.
With everything that's going on right now in regards to this Nolan Wells case, there are a lot of W folks that's fed up. And a lot of W folks are starting to speak out and hold their community accountable. Now, they like to come out and say that things is not about race. This isn't about race. You shouldn't make it about race. And they put a lot of black conservatives up to the front. One of them, Brandon Tatum, and they come out here and they try to run interference. He come out, he disrespects Nolan Wells' mother. He disrespects the memorials on his birthday. He does everything that he can, in his brown skin, to say things that a lot of those racist W's want to say. Well, there's a lot of W's now coming out and saying, hey, we're not with them. We're not with that. And we know that this is about race. We know that this is based on racism, and we're not afraid to call it out. We're not afraid to be held accountable by our own community. This is wrong. And it's been wrong for a very long time. And now we're standing on business. So the one guy, like he said, if Nolan was their best friend, they would have been at that funeral. Nowhere in the world they'd have been doing interviews saying anything disparaging about the mom. This is what the first guy was saying, right? He's holding these people accountable, and he's saying that it is about race. Do not let them condition your mind or have you in fear, making you say that it's not. Because we already know that it is. Everything in this country has been about race. And guess what? We didn't make it that way. We didn't create it. So the people that created it, and they never changed their behavior, they can't be the ones that come out and say it's not about race just because they promote a black guy up there to say these things, right? So you had a lot of people that's been calling this out. Now you have this guy, he's ex-military, right? He's an ex-military guy. He says that he specializes in, finding out how people lie, whether they're lying or telling the truth. And he came online and he said this.
I am a former Army interrogator, human intelligence collector. I was trained by the United States government to analyze your language, body language, posture to identify deception. I did it in the real world. Through interrogations, through source operations, and through strategic debriefings. I've got tons of certifications. I'm an expert at this.
You guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, Nolan was, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock.
Last time he saw Nolan was 3 o'clock. That is critically important information. All right, right here, he's talking about when his buddy Bart pulls out his buddy Wyatt's boat. So Bart is on one boat, and he's pulling out Wyatt's boat. Wyatt's boat is the one that you've heard about was taken on water and sinking, and that's why they had to leave Horn Island. I want you to pay attention to this.
to where we're out of all this, all this chaos. Because we left at 4:30 and there was still.
We left at 4:30. We left at 4:30. This guy just said that the last time he saw Nolan was 3 o'clock. Very specific time. Now, how did he know it was 3 o'clock? Brandon Tatum didn't ask him that. If this was an interrogation, that's a key question I would ask. How do you know it was 3 o'clock?
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, Nolan was, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
And Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie. Katie.
That's Katie McCormick that he's talking about. Katie McCormick said that's not true, but let's listen. This is at 3 o'clock. This happened at 3 o'clock.
And Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing. That was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving,
well, when we were leaving, so it would be 4:30 because he's already said we were leaving at 4:30.
Nolan was sitting by the boat.
Nolan was sitting by the boat. How do you know, Warren, that Nolan was sitting by the boat? The last time you laid eyes on him was at 3 o'clock. It's now 4:30. This is your timeline. Timeline is everything. At this part of the story, he's at 4:30. But he just said less than a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, that the last time he saw Nolan was 3 o'clock.
Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and
how do you know that? The last time you laid eyes, your exact words, on him was 3 o'clock. You're now talking about 4:30. Now listen what happens next.
My buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving.
Now, in the interest of honest analysis here, if they were both on the boat and he heard his buddy yelling at Nolan, not him, by the way. Warren wasn't yelling at Nolan. Even in his own story, he wasn't looking for Nolan or yelling for Nolan. And in the beginning of part 1 of the interview, he says, Nolan was like a brother to me. He was my best friend. More than a friend, though. He was like a brother to me. But Warren's not the one looking for Nolan, not the one yelling for Nolan. He don't even go over and lay eyes on him again, according to his own story that he's telling us. But he hears his buddy saying, hey, Nolan.
The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear. It's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on.
So your buddy asked Nolan multiple times, and you never did. Your brother, your best friend. But notice he didn't say Nolan said, I'm going to stay here with Katie who I'm sitting with next to the boat. No part of that exchange would have given Warren the details to know that Nolan was sitting by the boat with Katie, which was his exact words. He contradicted himself. That's blatant deception and needs to be immediately exploited and interrogated.
So you have all kinds of W experts that's coming out here now, and they're psychoanalyzing, they're breaking down things, and they're combating the Brandon Tatums. They're going against the stuff that Brandon Tatum is saying. Because there's a lot of W's out here. See, this is what we got to understand. Regardless of the way we think, we live in an integrated society in a lot of different places. Every around this country, every city is not Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis. There's a lot of interracial relationships. There's a lot of places where blacks and whites live amongst each other, right? Every city ain't the same. Every demographic ain't the same. So you have generations of W's who have friends that are black. And a lot of them do not want to take part in this ongoing racism that a lot of W's keep pushing. So they're starting to speak up and speak out. And they're starting to speak loud and saying, yo, I'm tired of this. My son's best friend is black. Or my grandchildren are black. I thought this way 30 years ago, but I don't think this way anymore because my grandchildren are black. So I think that we need to take into account that in the integration of America, a lot of cities across America, a lot of blacks and whites and different racial groups are living amongst each other or intermingling amongst each other. It may not be like that in your city, but your city doesn't represent the all of America. So you have W's that are calling this stuff out because they know. Remember, They're in circles that we're not in. They know how racist their grandfathers are, their fathers are, their cousins, the ones at the barbecue, in the circles that we're not involved in. They know their people better than us. So when they speaking out like that, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm not fully trusting everything, but I'm listening. But then you had this older W, this old W. He actually did a video and explained from his position how they may have, right, allegedly may have unalived Nolan Wells, because we don't know yet, because the police, the DA, nobody's talking. But he gave his explanation.
So here's what happened. They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. They covered him up with the life jackets. They all knew he was on the boat. They just laid him on the back of the boat and got towed in part of the way. Then they got their boat running and they got on in. And when they got in, they couldn't figure out where they were going to put him or what they were going to do. So they dropped everybody off. Then they went back out to the island that the GPS doesn't show, but they did because they disconnected it. Okay? And none of them had their phones with them when they went back. So there wasn't any trace of them going back. And they dumped the body. They came back, took the boat out of the water, then went over there at 3 a.m. and washed the boat, thinking washing the boat would get all the DNA and everything off the boat. That's what they did. Now, I'm telling you, the stories are unbelievable at this point. You can't make this up. You know, first, it was about leaving the island. Well, that one blew up. Found out 2 people were at the island, saw him. Then the Coast Guard, Coast Guard call, CETO call. Nolan, oh my God, Nolan, get up. They heard that. Can't make it up. Not making it up. Then there was the phone, Warren's phone. Now, this. And also, last night, we have a bunch of body experts of their body movements in their interviews that they were not telling the truth. That they're body experts. You know, they moved their eyes like that or moved like that or, they looked up or, something. But I'm telling you, the authorities should use these TikTok creators to solve this case. They are some of the smartest people you will ever encounter.
So again, you have some W's out here that's explaining how race is involved in the solving of the Nolan Wells case. We don't know if he was unalive, was it accidental, was it on purpose? We don't know yet because we're not hearing anything from law enforcement. We're not hearing anything from the DA. But you know what we do know? There's a lot of speculations going on with this woman, Miss Turner, down there in the coroner's office. There's a lot of things going on where she's working in conjunction with the DA, and people have filed a petition to get her investigated and to get her license taken. Was it Stacey Turner? People want to get her license taken because you have countless people who there's been unalivings hanging from trees and people turning up mysteriously unalived, and she was ruling them that they took their own life. But then there was some independent autopsies that ruled them, saying that wasn't the case. So you have people out here saying that do not make this about race, but then you have W's out here that are saying, no, it's definitely about race. And I need you to understand, like I said, regardless of me, I might be hardcore pro-black from Philadelphia, grew up in a racially segregated city where we were separated from each other, but that's not the case for every city across America. That's not the case for everybody. Nolan Wells was a kid that grew up around them. That doesn't make him a bad kid. That doesn't make his parents bad at all. That doesn't mean just because he grew up around W folks, we should be right here where he turned up unalived. No, it shouldn't. I thought we lived in America. I thought America wasn't a racist country. That's what y'all keep telling us. Right? But yet and still, look at the way it's been handled. And you have W's coming out and saying, yes, it is. It still is. And they're saying, we would know. Right? So who am I to argue with them when they're coming out telling you what it is? We know Brandon Tatum is brought and paid for. We already know that. He's being told what to say, how to say it, when to say it. Because the minute he says something they disagree with, that's it for him. We already know that. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time, peace.